Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a really fun and special guest with me, and we're going to be doing a little video. I'm kind of doing a remake of the video that I made before of kind of the British perspective of living in England. So I have my friend Georgina here with me, who's actually from England as well. We're both Nigerian, British Nigerians. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what it's been like living here and kind of the experiences we've had, and kind of if we'd recommend it to anyone. If we're being honest, I don't would, but you know, let's just get the opinions out in the open and stuff. So the first thing we're going to talk about is school. I mean, that one's kind of the boring stuff, so we're going to get it out of the way. But we both moved here when I was 16.
I was 16 too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right before my 16th birthday.
It was right before junior year. Yeah, so I moved, so she's a year older than me, so I moved literally almost exactly a year after her. I mean, we lived in the same apartment.
Yeah.
But yeah, we started last 2 years of high school were here. And honestly, high school for me personally was very like touch and go. Like, it started off like, oh my god, I'm in America, it's gonna be like High School Musical, I'm gonna have like the group of friends who were like my people, it's just gonna be like, you know, fun times. And then obviously I live in the south of Georgia. Not in the south of Georgia, we live in Georgia, we live in the suburbs of Georgia. The people around us are very much the same types of people, like, except a tiny little group, maybe like 0.5%. But for the most part, everyone was like rich kid from around here, known each other their entire lives.
Yeah, that's the maddest thing about it. I wasn't expecting people to like already be so like involved with each other in high school, because like coming in junior year, that's 2 years left of school. People already have their own friends, like naturally that's always going to happen, but like these people have literally known each other from elementary school. Like the way the school system is set up here, like if you live in the same area, you're going to go same elementary school, that's same middle school, and same high school with the people that you live with. Yeah. Unless you move, like you're going to see the same people. Even the same college a lot of times, like the amount of people that went to my school that were from my high school was like insane. People that have known each other since they were like 4, and they've gone to the same school for the past like 20 years. Like, that is absurd to me. And I guess it's a bit different because like I've moved so much in my life, so I've never really had, like, I've had friends that I've had for a long time, but I've never been in the same school with the same friends for such a long period of time. And so like you can never like really account for the fact that like a lot of your friends have had closer friends. So like obviously I met really great people while I was in school here. Obviously I met Georgina, which was fantastic. Oh my, meeting her was like made it so much easier to be in school. I swear.
Oh my days, because and so when people constantly ask you, oh, say this for me, say that, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, can I just have a conversation with you? Like, can we just speak on like a level, please?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, say bloody, say tea, say the Queen. Like, are you joking? Can we just talk about stuff? Like,
that's what I felt like. Okay, so I felt in the beginning that people didn't really like me, they liked
my accent. That is my entire life.
My first class, I remember my first class of the day was American Lit, and the very first day of school, I walked into that class. Obviously everyone's already got their friends, they're chatting about what they did at summer, what they did during summer. Everyone's just chatting like with their own friends, and I'm kind of sat in the back of the classroom, like, so I'm already, I felt isolated.
Like, yeah, you're just like, alright.
And like no one paid me any attention, right?
Then you speak.
Then class is going on, and the teacher for some reason wants me to speak about, because I think they're doing like, oh, where are you from?
Yeah, what's your name? Like this, that, yeah. Bibbly bobbly bang. Yeah.
I start talking, when I tell you, everybody turned around to look at me, because they're like, first of all, where's this voice coming from? And second of all, why did no one notice her before? So it's like no one cared about who I was.
Oh my god, that happened to me, and I think for me, I think it was my it was an American literature class as well. It was like, I didn't have anyone really speak to me. I sat in my class, and then I was just like at the table, and they heard me. I was like, oh, my name's Naomi, like, introduce yourself. And they're like, it was like, first, like, why is this black person speaking in a different voice? And then second, like, who the fuck are you? But you paid no attention to me beforehand. And it just became like a trend where it's like, every time I make a new friend, it was because of the way I spoke. And it got really frustrating, like really demoralising, because you're just like, are you only talking to me because I don't sound like you and I'm from a different place than you? Or you don't expect me to sound the way that I do? And that was like really, even in uni, that was a hard thing for me when I transferred to Southern. Because when I was at my old school at Florida, because 33% of our
Europeans,
we were all from, like, most of my friends were from England or from like literally all over Europe in general. So that was never an issue. Like the friends I had were the friends that we wanted to be around, you know? Like Americans are the minority in my friend group. It was like one of those things. And then when I got to Southern, it was like people who wouldn't speak to me, and then it's like, oh, I get introduced by someone from high school and they're like, I speak and I'm like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And they're like, what was that? And I'm like, you weren't even paying attention to me before. Like now you want to talk to me because you hear that I'm from England. Like, are you joking? And that was probably a really hard thing for me to deal with when I first moved here. I'm not gonna lie, because then you start just getting like, if I had the same voice as you, would you even speak to me?
Right. Like even going off the American Lit class, I had this group of girls that would sit in that class, obsessed with me. Like obsessed with me. Every time we come to that class, it's, hey Georgina, how's your day? This and this, and we'll be talking. Kid you not, in the hallways or any other place outside of that classroom, those girls did not ever speak to me. Did not like. It was so weird, and it's
exact same thing.
Yeah, and it's like it wasn't like it didn't really hurt my feelings because they're not really my type of people anyway. Yeah. I was just friendly with them because it's like I don't know anybody, and you guys are talking to me. I love that. That's cool. Let's chat. But man, like finding friends that was like genuinely trying to be your friend. I feel like that's just high school plus.
Yeah. Plus that is what moving in like in the middle of like dead smack in the middle of high school, because I found like really good friends at the beginning. I will say, like they were really like my friend. She was not she was from South Africa, so I got really well with her, and like she just made me feel so comfortable when I first started school, which is really great. And then my senior year was when I found like my group, and that's when I met like one of my closest friends now, Tiffany, like Wabari, all of them, and like because of the Nigerian aspect of things, that helped me a lot so because it's like. It's like you have to pick a side a lot of times when you don't meet people who are British Nigerians. A lot of times you feel like you have to pick being more British than being Nigerian, or being Nigerian and then hiding the British. And it was like so hard for the longest time, like balancing that moving to this country.
Because there was another British guy in the school. I don't know if you remember, a white guy. And I remember someone was like, one of these girls in my American class was like, you should meet this guy. I think his name was like Eddie. They're like, you should.
Oh my god, I remember. I had American Gov class with him. Yes.
And they thought, oh, you guys are getting along so well, you're both from England. But then you meet him and it's like, okay, we're both from the same place, but we're not on that.
We would never lead on to the next topic. We're going to talk about dating in this country. So this one is something we've talked about so many times. Okay, so talking as a British person and talking as a Nigerian is very different. I lived in Nigeria for like 3 years. So when I first started like talking to boys and stuff like properly, I was living in Nigeria. So it was a bit different. And then I moved back to England and stuff like that. But then I realised that dating someone who is British Nigerian is different from dating someone who's American Nigerian.
Oh.
So different. Like...
Yeah. It's a different flavour.
It's a completely different flavour. I think I only recently dated someone who was American Nigerian, and that was like, I have to be careful with my words. Fuck, you know, that experience has been very different to what
Interesting.
I am expecting.
Go ahead.
Because so like whenever I go back to England. And I start talking to someone who's like grown up in England and is Nigerian, we see things on such a like equal level. Like it's just like the wavelength is different. Like I think we embrace Nigerian culture a lot more in England than they do in this country. I think recently it's gotten a lot better, but I think we've embraced it. Like even in England, if you go to certain parts of England, you will hear Nigerian music on the road. Like a lot of things are like embedded in like especially specifically London, but London culture is like taking Nigerian and Jamaican culture as well. It's like they just run with it, and so like things that like we talk about so leisurely, like so casually, like it's like simple.
So, like Nigerians and like Africans in England, like we were the black people. Like there wasn't you've got the African blacks and then you've got like the British blacks. You were either like, as a black person, you were either African or you were like Caribbean.
That's
how we work.
That's exactly what it is, and I think that's the transition part. Like, you're trying to get into the black American culture, so then it's like you're but you're like pushing away the Nigerian aspect of things, because it's a lot easier to just kind of put yourself in that group. But then in England, it's like we were the black Caribbeans and the black Africans, like that's it, you know?
Yeah.
And so like it was just so much more like, you claimed as like, oh yeah, you don't say, oh I'm black, it's like, oh I'm Jamaican, oh I'm Nigerian. No, we like took like our like heritage more into account, like whenever we introduce ourselves in general. Like I realised I don't even say I'm Nigerian nearly as much as I do here than I did in England. Like in England it's like, oh yeah I'm Nigerian, like that's it, because my accent everyone knew. I mean I'm British obviously, but like, oh yeah I'm Nigerian, like it was calm, like oh yeah she's Jamaican, and it was just so different. And so like that has been a problem with the dating aspect of things, but also just I'm not into American boys.
Is it?
No. I've never really been into, and like people find it so weird when I say that, but I just think like there's so many things I just find so dead about them. Like like it's just like British people dress better. It's just I mean it's just cut and dry if I'm being honest. Like if you see, I know man them in England love a tracksuit. It's super simple, like nice crepes, nice tracksuit, but I just love that. Like that is
I love it too.
That's my speed.
I can't lie, like, so when I was in England, I wasn't chatting to man. I wasn't like.
No, I'm talking about after I'm back, like when I've gone on holiday and stuff.
Because you said, okay, so what age did you start talking to like people romantically?
I want to say like year 8.
See, with me, obviously primary school, I was bagging all the men. Like I had boyfriends, but like as like a teenager and stuff like that, like I was very ugly. I was dead. So I wasn't really like involved with boys like that until I got here. So my first romantic experiences were with like American men,
boys,
which like I love British men. Like when I was there, obviously I'd see men I think are attractive and stuff. I just never got
that experience. See, my thing is that obviously my proper romantic dating side, I started like in Nigeria a little bit, but I really started when I got to uni, because I wasn't dating when I was in high school. I was pretty dead in high school, or just I was dead to the people around me. And then I got to uni and I was like, oh, I got a little bit of sauce, and all the people that I was attracted to were always European, not necessarily British, but never Americans. Like I was lucky to have that in my school. Like because everyone I ever dated while I was like talked to or anything were always European, whether British, whether Scandinavian, whether like literally from everywhere, but it was just never Americans. And so I got to Southern, and it was such a weird experience. First it was like country ass Southern dudes, and that was just never ever gonna be for me. Like in a million years would I ever date someone who was like super country. It's just not my cup of tea. And so like then later on, like literally within the past like year or 2 years or so, I've like ventured out and I'm like, okay, I need to like not be so particular. And like I will say it's never been a bad experience dating someone American. It's just like I think there's certain levels at which you connect with people who just kind of get it. And I also dating someone Nigerian helps a lot with the whole American thing, but it's still just not the same. Like I've never dated someone who's like African American before, like who's not like African, because I just feel like we would have like always be like a lag in the conversation, but there'll be a lag in like life, and like culture as well, because I'm British, I'm Nigerian. Like there's I don't want to sound like I'm deep or anything, but there's like layers to it, and I just think it's a bit different dating someone who's like African American and stuff like that. And so that's why I guess my dating like life has been very like I won't say limited, but like it's been very particular, and I'm trying to be better about that. And I think like life would obviously pay like I'll never know who I'm gonna end up with until I end up with them, So I'll never like close anyone off, but I just think I've always been drawn to people who were like European or like Nigerian specifically. But I don't know, it's weird for me.
I mean so when I got here, the people that I was more interested in were Black Americans, just because, well, also because of the fact that they were the ones that were showing interest in me. Like I had never really got a lot of like boy attention like back home, and especially where I lived in Kent, so I was around a lot of white people. I feel like maybe my story would have been a bit different if I was in London.
I definitely am similar with that. I lived in London, but I lived on like the outskirts. So like I lived in North London and I lived right like on the precipice of London. So like, but then I have like my cousins who live in like East London, and it's like in like the center of like Nigerian, African, Caribbean culture. So it is very different, I will say. But I get that. Because
it's like I've always found like black guys attractive.
Yeah.
But where I lived, obviously it's more white guys. So obviously I'm not gonna see 100 white men and not think one of them is attractive.
Yeah.
But it was never really my thing. But like coming here, I was still in the same mindset of like, nah, people are probably not gonna care for me. This. But you know, when I was starting to see the kind of black men that were in this place, I was like, whoa, I've never seen this before. Like, I've never seen, they were tall, built. I'm like, this is high school. You big men are in high school. So it was really lovely to me. Like, I was in awe. But yeah, didn't start properly being in a relationship though until uni. And I was in a relationship with someone who is African American.
Yeah.
And like, I see what you're saying with the whole, there is a bit of a culture gap. So it is different. But I also find that with the kind of family I have, my family is kind of really good with that kind of stuff. Like, you know, my dad loves like, he loves Black American culture. He loves like everything. And then like my aunt is the same way. His sister is the same way. So like coming to my house, my parents aren't really gonna try and force the whole, or
British,
like, and you know how sometimes like Nigerians, they need you to be a certain way when you come in there.
That is,
You know, but like my parents aren't like that, so it was kind of easy with that, like bringing him around my family. It was a little bit harder when like he met my grandma, because they didn't really know how to like communicate
properly.
Like my grandma's talking and she's got her accent is thick, so it's like I can understand it. Sometimes even my sisters can't understand what she's saying. So it's just like, he was like, oh, what's she saying? Like, and I'm like, oh, this is what she's saying. Like, she's trying to greet you, or this, this, and that. There was stuff like that. But I find,
I think your family, you mentioning your family definitely plays a part in it.
Yeah.
But I also think the reason why I'm a bit more particular with that is because I also lived in Nigeria for a long time. Well, not a long time, but I lived in Nigeria for 3 years, and that really definitely changed my perspective on like black culture, I guess, in terms of like, I've always just like, when I've dated someone black, I knew they were gonna be Nigerian. If they weren't like Nigerian in Nigeria, they were gonna be Nigerian British most likely. I just know that if I'm dating someone black, there's a good chance they're gonna be Nigerian. Honestly, there's a good chance they're probably gonna be Yoruba too, because that's just like my parents. Both of my parents are Yoruba. Like I'm so heavy in my Yoruba culture, and I love it more than anything. And I just think like that is what makes me so particular with that stuff. And my family, the thing is, my family are never going to be bad towards it, but I know my parents are one way when they're with us, and then one way when they're with like people who they have to like, I have to turn on the English, I have to turn on the English, you know. And my mum and dad are so like Nigerian, like they love being Nigerian and like they embrace it. My dad's so funny when he's speaking Yoruba, but like when he's speaking English, man's dead, like he just doesn't talk.
It'd be like,
and so like it's just like, if I know that's going to be a problem, because it's like you won't be able to see the length of like what my family is if you're not someone who has that background, you know. And that's like annoying, but at the same time it's like I know it's something I have to deal with. And my mum says it about my sister. She's like, your sister's going to marry some white man, and I have no problem with it. She's like, she had no problem with it. Get it? And she's like, with me she'll never know, and to be honest I never know. It really just depends. But
my parents, they're like, they know it's gonna be a black man. Like he could be Ghanaian, he could be African American.
I see you marrying someone Ghanaian.
Like, my friend just said that the other day.
I see you marrying someone Ghanaian for sure, or like Senegalese.
Yeah, like for me, it's just it's black. Because I feel like if you know, African American, with the culture difference, like you can bridge that gap.
I think so.
And I feel like it's easier to bridge that gap than it is with someone that is Caucasian.
That is true. That is very true.
And like even with some other Nigerians, you have to bridge a culture difference. Because I'm Edo and Igbo, and I'm not that ingrained in my culture because my parents did not really like raise us like that, which is kind of annoying. So if I get with an Igbo man, he's gonna have to kind of help me with my side of that Igbo culture because I'm not too deep into it. So that's what I feel like.
Yeah, see, no, I get that. I think the biggest problem will be for my parents be if I marry someone that was not Yoruba. I think they would struggle with it more than me marrying someone outside my race. I think just because they're so Yoruba, like both of my parents are so Yoruba. It's like nuts from both sides. Like
you can speak it, right?
I can speak it partially, but I completely understand it.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, and so like that is like one thing where like we bantered about in Yoruba and like having to translate that stuff, and I could not imagine like it's just like so much effort, and like that's something that like concerns me a little bit. But I mean, hopefully it'll figure itself out. And hopefully my parents will teach my kids Yoruba. That's something that I want, because I don't know how to speak it well enough, and I want my kids to know how to speak it. But we'll see what happens.
That'd be so good.
That would be so sick. Alright, we're doing the last topic. So the last topic is going to be just like overall living in this country compared to living in England.
0 out of 10.
Like I'm saying, more like a -6. Like I'm just so done with this place. Like I'm done. I'm just sick of this country. Like there's nothing that pulls me towards being here anymore. I used to love, I think the only thing that we were talking about before is like job wise, like they pay you more money.
Yeah. I would say that's the only thing. Like I tell my family, my parents all the time, like if a job in England was to give me the money that I'm making here, you people will not see me in this country again.
Facts.
Like, I wouldn't stay here. And I feel, and people always say it's like, oh, that's because you grew up there. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, home is home. But like I've also never had that kind of personality where I feel attached to things too deeply.
Same.
So it's not the fact that I'm attached to it. I just feel like my lifestyle over there was much better than my lifestyle was here. Like, first of all, working here, I'm sitting in a car for half my life because you have to drive everywhere. Like in Georgia, everything is like so spaced out, so far away from each other. Like, but when I went back to England in December, walking everywhere, I got to take the train, got to take the bus. I know back then it was one of those things like,
it's jarring, like, running to get the bus that's like coming down the road.
I had never been more appreciative of a bus in my life. Like just having public transport infrastructure is a
it's just knowing it's there. Like even if I know that obviously if I move back to England I would start driving, like that's gonna happen. But just knowing it's there, like going on a night out and not having to think about who's DDing or who's paying for the fucking Uber, like the fact that I can like I got like when I was in England for 2 weeks, the times I'd come home just like a good bus sitting on the train just smiling, and I'm getting in the bus and I'm chilling because I don't have to drive anywhere. I get home and I'm chilling. Like it's so simple. Like they make everything so easy. I don't have to when I went to the dentist in England, I paid like £200 and they literally obviously they fixed my tooth and then I broke it again. But like it's just like so many things just flow so much better. If I needed to go to the doctor, I'm not thinking, oh my god, this copay is coming in.
That's another one.
It's so jarring, bro. Like I can't do it anymore. And I know obviously if I work for a company that odds are I will get insurance through them and this that, but it's just like having that there for the basis already. It's like a sense of calm that you have. It's like not like if I get sick or if I get like someone injures me, I don't have to worry about, oh my god, like this is gonna cost me my entire life. Like it's like life happens, go to the doctor, like it should be. And it's just, I think it's just so many things. Doing my hair, flipping out. Like living in Atlanta makes it worse, I think, because this is like a hair like centre. Every bloody hairstylist charges you like an arm and a leg to sew a needle and thread into like.
It's too much.
It's too much. Like she was so rude. I paid like $300 for my braids. They weren't even good. They weren't good. Like they were these big, ugly looking things. The braids I did before this, paid like $300 for it. She was rude to me the entire time. Like I asked her to go to use the toilet and I was like, please can I go? She was like, it's over there. Like, do you expect me to sit here for 8 hours and not want to go wee? Like I don't understand like what I did. She was so rude, and like you see people have all these terms and conditions for everything, and I get people are crazy.
A bit weird, but luckily like we found my dad's cousin lives in Georgia. Didn't live too far away, so when we started like going to see them and we saw them for the first time, we were complaining. We were like, "Oh, we don't know who to do our hair," and they were like, "Oh, you know, we do hair." Yeah. Since then, nobody has touched this. Me and like Amanda, me and her, are the only people who have touched my hair since then. Like,
oh my god! See, I found the person that did my hair. She's Nigerian and she's the one that does braids for all my family. And obviously I do weaves and stuff like more than I do braids. I think I've done braids twice since like when I was like 15. Like I don't do braids very often. But since I found this lady, I'm never going anywhere else to do my braids. She killed the braids because I've gotten so many compliments on these braids. I've had these braids for like 2 months plus right now.
Oh, they look good.
And she did such a good job. The food is trash in this country. I can't get good Chinese from anywhere. Like,
my dad hates the Chinese food.
Chinese food in this country is disgusting.
Hates it.
I've said this so many times and I'll say it forevermore.
It doesn't taste real.
It tastes like fat and sugar. Like it tastes completely synthetic. Like it's not good at all. The first thing I buy when I go to England is Chinese, KFC chicken wings, Greg's chicken bake, and sausage roll. What else? Nando's. I had only Nando's like twice when I went to be fair.
I didn't have it as much.
I didn't have it as much as I expected to. I had Greg's almost every day.
Yeah.
I just go in and be like, chicken bake please. £2, run that shit. And KFC hot wings, I had them so much. And Chinese. But Chinese in England, bangs different.
It's mad because when I think about it, I'm like, I didn't even eat that much when I went there.
You don't eat that much, that's what I'm saying. I ate maybe one meal a day and I was completely content.
Yeah.
Like, I was completely content. I walked all the time. I legit lost like 5 kg living it when I was back in England, because it's just like my daily like activities was like on it. I was always walking, always moving. Like food was better, like it's healthier in general. I was eating Chinese and it still felt like I was healthier than I was eating like anything from here.
And you went in summer, right?
Yeah, I went like, I think this time last year I was in England.
Yeah, like I went in winter, and to attest to how much I miss and love England, I was there in winter time when it was cold and it was rainy, and I still didn't want to come to America. Like that's how much I would rather be there. Like their winter, I wanted to be there over. I wanted to be here. Which Georgia winter, like it's really not a thing.
It's not.
It doesn't really get that cold.
It gets cold.
Do you
think?
Just
doesn't snow.
Okay, yeah.
It does get cold though. I feel like it does get quite chilly down here. It just doesn't rain. Like in England, like winter feels a lot worse because it's raining. So you just feel cold and you're like wet, and it just always feels freezing. But I think here it does get pretty cold. It does get quite chilly, to be fair.
But yeah, man.
I don't know, but it's just like all of it is just, I would rate this country, well I think Georgia, I'd rate it like a -5 out of 10 because it's just not.
And what I'm trying to do is like, because with my next job is not in Georgia.
Oh,
so
it's not.
I'm actually moving out of state. So it's like, I'm trying to gather as much on other states as I can before I can say that, okay, I hate America. Because first of all, I know Georgia's not it for me. Like,
yeah, same here. I'm not.
I like New York. Like I've been there a lot, but it's like, it's probably somewhere that I love to visit as opposed to.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live in New York. I've said that. I think if I want to live in any like East Coast city, it'd be Boston. Yeah, I think I would really like Boston. I think it's like less populated than New York, and I think it's quite similar to the English culture. So that's one place I've always looked at, and I like when I applied to jobs, I put Boston as one of the places that I wouldn't mind living. Surprisingly, I don't think I want to live in California.
No. That's another place.
Like I don't
visit, but don't
live. I don't think I would want to. Maybe San Francisco, just because I loved it when I went, and obviously it's a massive tech hub, which is both of our degrees are in. But it's also just so overpopulated and it's ridiculously expensive for no reason. And yeah, London is expensive, but you could still find places that are okay just outside London. Like, but California is like, the whole of California is just overpriced. San Francisco is a joke how expensive it is. I went to visit with my cousin. It's so expensive, and because there's no space, they just don't have room anymore. I could live in Texas, surprisingly.
I need to visit before.
Texas is
I say
really,
all the time. I'm like,
I really think you would like Texas, because I think Dallas, well, San
Antonio.
Is it San Antonio or one other? I know there's Dallas. Oh, like Houston is hot, like hotter than here. It's just not humid, so it doesn't feel as sticky, but it's hot. But it's just like it's also like so many. It's so big. Like there's so much space. If you see some of the new like housing and stuff, they're just always making housing because there's so much space in Texas. So that's a place I would consider. Probably Dallas more than Houston, but I think I would consider Texas and like Boston. If I try those places and I don't like them,
it's OB.
Mate, yeah. I'm looking more to living in like the Netherlands, even if it's not England. I'm moving back to Europe. In the near like 5-10 years, I'm moving back to Europe because I just can't be here anymore. I I can't do it.
I want experience living in London in my youth.
I think it'd be different.
And then when I'm ready to like, you know, have a proper house, like proper big house,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going back to Kent. I just wouldn't go back to the part of Kent that I was
See,
from.
I think Kent is a lot, because Kent and Essex are close, aren't they?
Yeah.
I have a lot of family in Essex, and I actually lived there before we moved back into London. Essex is not bad. They are banging like space for nice houses.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that it's just not worth it. Like, it's like, yeah, in theory you make more working, but then you're also spending money on so much more stuff.
Health.
You know, and it's just like, at the end of the day, it's like, is it worth it? Is it worth like sacrificing this, that, or the other to make like more money? And I will say it's substantially more in certain fields. Like in tech, I know for a fact it's probably a lot more here than it is in England or a lot of countries in Europe in general. But I mean, I don't know. Hopefully we'll find our niche spot in this country, but as of right now, the judgment stands. -5/10. It's just not the one, bro. It's just not it. It's not it. And so that concludes our British perspective.
It was just a lot of
it was just a lot of complaining. But that concludes our video, guys. So make sure to like and subscribe and watch out for more videos. And hopefully I can be a bit more positive. It seems like I only complain about stuff on this channel. It's getting a problem. But anyway, as I said, like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon.